Yeah, baby, go. All right, folks, welcome to the Jake Feinberg Show. What an honor it is to be here in Plano, Texas. Maybe you want to kill the drum loop there?
Yeah.
Here today with incredibly modest cat, but somebody who's been playing music for really the last probably 5 decades or so, and he's passed it along to his sons as well and his family. Frank LoCrasto Sr., welcome back to the Jake Feinberg Show.
Hi, Brad. Thank you very much for having me. I'm glad to be here.
It's such an honor, man.
Yeah.
I wanted to just ask you, like, around 1980, you mentioned that you started to, I guess, become curious about and start to dig into jazz a little bit more. Weather Report, Jocko. Can you talk a little bit about a seminal moment? I mean, because before that you were playing a lot of show band stuff.
That's right.
But can you talk about the jazz component, like when you got hooked and what and ultimately how deep did you get?
Okay. So actually, it was a little bit before 1980s, and you're right. Jocko was the cat. Is when I heard, and I bet a million bass players are going to tell you this. Being rock and roll cover band guys, and then they heard the Jocko's first album, and I think it was just called
Jocko, self-titled, yeah.
And then hearing that cut, Donna Lee.
I'm gonna go back and dig on that. I mean that.
Yeah, so Donna Lee was the seminal moment to use your terminology.
Vernacular, yeah.
So then I spent the rest of my life trying to do the Donna Lee thing, which I could probably play it at about 90 beats per minute, and Jocko was doing like 230 or something. But yeah, so that was the moment for me. And
I just want to be clear though for the audience, like it wasn't just about facility, it was about feel. I mean, I'm trying to get off. Like, talk a little bit about the final, because it was not just about technique.
Yeah, it was about it was about him playing the bass like it was an alto sax or a tenor sax something.
I dig.
Okay, so like when he took a solo and your back is turned, it's a bass, but those are horn lines. The guy's playing it, first one to do that, maybe it was, that guy that played with Chick Corea for a while, he was a great soloist as well, but not like this. Not in.
Stanley Clark.
Stanley Clark, yeah.
Miroslav. Yeah. There were some cats that, and the other thing was Jocko was playing the electric.
Yeah.
Well, Stanley was too. That's interesting stuff. I mean, so did you?
So at that
how
point,
deep did you get into that? Yeah.
So at that point, I said, man, I gotta figure out a way to do this, and luckily I did an audition and was able to get into Berkeley, and that was in 1980, and started studying jazz there, and so fast forwarding a little bit.
Did you have like Ray Santisi or Hal Overton? Who were your teachers?
Bruce Gertz was the main guy.
Gertz.
And then there was a guy named Brown, Whit Brown at Berkeley. Spent some time with him, and then Bruce Gertz was my private lesson instructor. and I still have some of his.
Was the Combat Zone still around? Do you remember that place?
No,
It was
I do not.
It was a lot of strip clubs. You played like three. Did you play gigs
No,
there?
I did not.
You did not. Okay.
No. So even though, I'd be walking around the halls at Berkeley in between classes, and there was a shortage of bass players, and I had my gig bag on my back, and a professor that was having a session would see me and just drag me in and say, "Here, I need you to play for me for this set," and I would just read chord changes and just play walking bass lines. Stuff like that, and
your reading chops came up. You got your chops up during the Jersey band cover band days, or how did you?
No. So in those days, I was just playing
by ear.
And actually, I was using the Nashville number thing. For 1 chord, 5 chord, 6 chord, whatever, just so we could change keys instantly. I learned that way. The reading chops when I was at Berkeley, I really couldn't read melodies, but I knew how to walk the bass and I could read the changes. And so that got me by. I understood harmony and passed all my arranging classes and harmony classes. That's probably why my grades were good.
Well, you got Dean's List.
Yeah.
You're telling me you did not. I mean, everyone that I've talked to from that Berkeley area, they did. I know you joined Myron and the
Marvels.
Right, but during your time, you never played any live gigs at Berkeley, like in Boston at all.
No.
Like there was Pooh's Pub. There was a bunch of cool little clubs there.
No.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, what I'm saying is, did you feel like that wasn't something you were really intensely trying to do? You were trying
I wasn't really trying to get gigs, and but of course, if someone would have called me and say, Frank,
we need you, Mingus tribute.
Yeah. I would have done it, but no one. I don't know if I was that well known.
Well, when Myron was coming through town, and their bass player quit, and then can you talk about that tryout?
What happened there? The semester was ending. It was in May of 1980. And I just happened to pick up a Boston news. Back then, we didn't have phones or an internet. So I picked up a newspaper, and I was just kind of looking at the want ads, figuring out what I was going to do during the summer. And I saw this thing, bass player wanted auditions at such and such club in Somerville or something. I think is where it was.
Love it, dude. Love Somerville, man.
So
I haven't been there in a minute. Yeah.
Put the bass on my back and went to the audition and played a few songs for them, and they said, "You got the gig," So
I want to ask you something, because this is when you talked about. I mean, it sounds like it was like almost like a musical buffet. That show, like there were doo-wop. I mean, there was an Elvis part. How would that work? Would it be themed? Like if you were playing the Opry House, or would it just maybe one night would be Elvis, or you would mix all the shows into
the show? There was typically a night was 3 sets.
Wow.
And the first set was like we were like exactly like Sha Na Na.
Yeah, I'm into the records, but not the live.
Yeah, so the first set was typically like a doo-wop thing. We would do a Sea Cruise and some Little Anthony Imperials, and there was 5 lead singers in that band, plus the rhythm section and a horn player, I think. And so the first set was always something like that. We would dress up kind of like Sha Na Na. I would wear this rolled up jeans and
I need pictures immediately.
Like this,
and
a hat, and
the cool hat to this. Yeah.
I still have that hat.
I know. I said that's the picture that you put up there. I love it.
So.
And so one set would be something else. It would be different.
And then the next set would be the impersonators. So there might be 4 impersonators in that set. Would be a Buddy Holly guy would come out first. Then Connie Francis would come out. Then Little Richard. And then finally it was Elvis. and he would come out and all the regalia, and he would pass out scarves to the ladies, and
And you were playing like the Bill Black parts or the
I was playing the bass parts, and he would bring me up for the what was that song? I can't even remember now. But it was a song that him and the bass did a little thing, and yeah, that was and he was pretty good. So a lot of the Elvis impersonators, they're a little corny, but this guy
had it down.
Yeah, he did.
Who was Myron? He was the
So he was the piano player.
Wow.
Myron was the piano player, and so then the last set was more of a show thing. We would come in, we changed outfits every set. And the last set we came out and we had like these Temptation outfits, and we would do a Motown show, or we would do
Dude, I would do anything for one of those
Beach
suits.
Boys.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I know you were never how proud of the idea that you were never somebody that was interested per se in writing original music. It was interesting when I asked you that in our interview, because you spent a lot of time in Jersey playing cover tunes, which is fine. I mean, you were singing for your supper. But the fact that your son Frank is so into original music, and so they say the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree, but it's different color apple.
Yeah, I don't have an original bone in my body.
That's what you said, man.
Yeah.
So how does that work? I mean,
I don't know.
Yeah, that's so crazy,
I don't know. I sit here a lot of times, and I'm just a little guy at home. If you look behind me, I have GarageBand on my laptop.
Join the club.
So
yeah.
I'll set up a little drum beat, and I'll try playing some bass lines and say, okay, maybe this could be a song, maybe it's not, but it's never anything interesting.
Was it with your sons, with your kids? I mean, I'm just wondering, like a lot of parents get their kids signed up for piano lessons. You being a musician and stuff, did you kind of just let them naturally gravitate to stuff? Was it natural curiosity, or I can't see you locking? You didn't need to lock them in the room to practice.
No, music was always playing in the house. We had a turntable, and albums were always playing, whether it was Steely Dan or if it was Weather Report or if it was
good music too.
Yeah,
good music. God, it's great.
And so, did I ever share the story how Frank started?
No, please tell.
All right. So when he was 4 years old, we bought him a little Casio, little 2-octave Casio, I guess, and you could push a button and a song would play. I don't know if you're
Sure.
Okay.
I think I had one of those too. Yeah.
So, and he would, and I just put it in his room and let him just mess around and do whatever. And I'm walking down the hall one day, and I'm walking by his room. He says, "Dad, come here." Now he's 5 years old, and he pushes the button, and it's some jazz riff, somebody playing jazz. He turns it off, and he played it right back.
Oh boy.
And I said, "Can you do that again?" And I said, "Wow, you want to take piano lessons? Okay." So I sign him up. Then I go get an upright piano. I rent an upright piano for him. We sign him up for some piano lessons with the local lady in town, and he didn't like that. So I said, okay. I said, okay, I'll get you a little better piano to practice on. I gave back the upright and got him a digital piano and put it in his room. And then he started on his own, just messing around, listening to, God, what's that?
Was it Jamie Abersol records?
No. He would listen to artists, and I'm sorry, I'm having a senior.
Like Teddy Wilson, like Stride stuff?
Yeah, not Stride stuff.
Art Tatum, or
the guy with Ray Brown.
Oh, Oscar.
Oscar Peterson.
Yeah,
Yeah, he would be listening to Oscar Peterson and start trying to mimic that stuff, and Chick Corea. So
that's an amazingly sophisticated foundation to start at the piano level.
So, we would go to bed, and that digital thing had he could put headsets on.
He was up till 4 a.m.
Yeah. Teresa and I, we wake up and you hear that thumping noise? Yeah, and Teresa would say, yeah, that's Frank playing. So, oh my God. All right, so then at this point, he's in middle school and he can play. So the middle school principal recognized his talent and gave him an hour a day by himself just to play piano. And a lot of his chops were developed during that period, 7th and 8th grade, where he had time. The local teachers there, whenever they had a meeting, they brought him in and he'd play for them. When they had their
Yeah,
meeting.
the staff. Yeah,
And at that point, I had bought him a real book, and he, playing standards, and he got his first gig, I think, when he was 10. I brought him to this antique mall, and he would set up his little digital piano and play for tips. And the old women there just loved it.
Man.
He's gonna hate me for sharing.
Well, no,
that
this
story,
thing's gonna be blown up all over the place, dude. You know what? I mean, I love. One thing I wanted you to talk about. This is kind of not related to music per se, but I asked you in our first interview about leadership, and it's kind of humorous, but I wanted you to talk about the cat. I don't know if it was the Jersey band. It wasn't with Myron, but he had an alcohol problem.
Oh yeah,
and he was dragged. And I only speak because I want you to talk to other bands who might be dealing with other situations with different addictions, or just, I mean, you went out and hauled the guy, you knocked him out, you hit him in the.
Well,
I want you to just talk about the idea. The point is that you woke him up. He sat out the set. He still had a problem, but he came up to you later and said it was the best thing that could have ever happened to him.
And that's true. That's a true story. I
mean, sometimes being a good friend is doing stuff that is uncomfortable to people because they have to get them. Not that,
and back then, I can't say I was so sophisticated and knowledgeable. That skirmish was really for selfish reasons. We had a full house inside the club there, and we were getting ready to do our set. And this guy is stone drunk, can't even walk. He's fumbling around, and I just lost my shit, and I punched him in the mouth, and
you're killing us, man.
Yeah, and it was awful, and the band were all So we just went in and did our set without him, and stuff with us. For the rest of the time, we played together a few more years, and he wasn't as bad, but he was still drinking, and it was always a little awkward with me and him. I was the band leader. I took care of all the negotiations with the agents and the bookings and the rehearsal times and the marketing and all that stuff. And I just didn't need a guy that was dragging me down. So fast forward.
About 30 years? 30 years.
We have a reunion, and a reunion concert in Asbury Park, incidentally. And
how far was that from Pomone or wherever what was the town? Verona. How far from Verona is that?
Asbury?
Yeah.
Oh, it's probably 60 miles.
Okay.
An hour drive. Yeah.
Stone Pony.
Yeah. We played the Stone Pony a lot.
I love it.
And, having said that, Springsteen would come in and watch us. He would sit on the ground, the stage is here, and he was down there about 20 feet, sitting on the floor, back up against the wall, and just watch us because we were doing a Springsteen set.
Wait a minute. Wait, hold on. He was coming to watch a band cover his tunes.
I guess.
He was living there too at that time. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, that's before he's a mega.
But he had already
1975, 76.
Right, he was percolating. He was bubbling at that point.
Yeah.
That's so classic. He would sit there and watch you guys.
Yeah.
Anyway, 30 years later, you see this cat.
Yeah, and he comes up, before, it was at rehearsal, actually. We were rehearsing for the reunion concert, and he, during a break, he comes over, he said, Frank, remember the night, you hit me, and you yelled at me, and you did all this stuff, man. Thank you for doing that. I've been sober for 20 years or something, and it was really helpful. Kind of opened my eyes a little bit. I said, well, you're welcome, Bart. I didn't realize what I was doing. I had my own selfish issues for that, but I'm glad.
Well, and it was actually, to me, it was not, I don't know if selfish is the right word, because the music is bigger than any one person, and you were pissed because he was hurting the band.
Yeah.
He was hurting that collective message.
Yeah. And he and I still stay in contact. We call each other once or twice a year. So
It's beautiful. I mean, can you just talk about your experience in Vietnam? Had you picked up an instrument at that point?
so
And also, were you in combat? I mean, were you like in? I only yeah.
I was at Benoit Air Base in 1968, and that was commanded by a Vietnamese general. And on that base, we had a big presence, Air Force F-100s. We had a couple of U-2 spy planes there, and we had the Agent Orange guys that stored all the Agent Orange,
All the napalm,
yeah, all that, and they would do their missions. So for the combat part, no one really ever shot at me on purpose. However, that base was attacked all the time, rocket attacks. And
Really?
yeah, and so the siren would go off, and we go, oh crap, here we go again, and we go get in a bunker and wait for it to end. So the Tet Offensive was a little scary because the base,
Yeah, I was gonna say, what years were you there?
I was there 68, 69.
So that's when it was really getting intense.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, the Tet Offensive was so the base kind of got overrun by the NVA, and we had about 20 guys in our bunker. We all had M16s with 100 rounds, and the shrapnel was banging off the thing. Guys in there were crying and stuff, and I was laying on the ground saying, I got to get away from these guys crying.
Yeah, right.
And you could see the shit's exploding. You could see around the thing, you could see shadows of flames.
Dude, this sounds just like Apocalypse Now, dude. This really doesn't.
Yeah, the ground is shaking, and anyway, the base got overrun in the area that was being defended by the South Vietnamese Army.
Right.
They ran and allowed the sappers to run up and down the flight line and damage a lot of airplanes, and then they took out our big supply area. They bombed the shit out of that, destroyed a lot of stuff we had in outside storage, and damaged our chow hall. So we had nothing to eat. So what does
the food?
What does the Air Force do? We have no food. They call up all the storage from World War II C rations and K rations.
Oh my.
And
meals ready to eat. Yeah.
Man, it tasted so good. I was so hungry. Eating spam and cans of
stuff that had been there
cocktail
from the pre
45 or something. Yeah. So that's that part I remember because I was so hungry and I couldn't wait to get that can of food open and slop it in my mouth.
You have a list right here of pretty decorated names. I want you to pick one and tell a good what's the significance and the connection.
So all these names are people that I shared the stage with.
Unbelievable.
In my big band experience playing bass for the TI Jazz Band, Texas Instruments Jazz Band.
All right, let's just stop right there. There's just two guys that just popped out. Dear friends of mine, Bones Malone and Blue Lou, my favorite people, man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I know they're both North Texas cats, and clearly, Blues Brothers. So, talk about those cats for a minute.
So, Blue Lou. Let me put this on the side.
Blue Lou, legend.
We did, and talk about North Texas. So there was this concert up in Denton, the Denton Arts Festival or something, and he agreed to be our guest artist because we were doing a set there. And he came in the night before. We did a rehearsal, and
this is a local band you had here. What band?
No, this is the Texas.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
big band. Yeah, and. So we went out the night before to a barbecue place, got some sandwiches, and he talked about, we were asking him questions about the movie, the Blues Brothers stuff, and he was kind of talking about it, and there's, it's nothing really interesting story-wise with Blue Lou, except he had great chops, and he was friendly to me, and And
Such a that's what I'm saying. That those guys, they're accessible to me. They let me in. They and you know
yeah.
he did so much.
I said, you want, how about, in this part, you think you want me to do this or that? He says, no, just read the chart. You're good enough. Just do whatever the chart.
What about
tells you.
Erskine, Peter Erskine? I've interviewed him three times this year alone.
Great
Yeah, all right, let's do it. Man.
So, this is at Collin County College, and he's our guest artist for a Saturday night concert.
Is that in Texas? Where is
Yeah,
that?
that's pretty close to here, actually. It's in Plano. And so he's also he's guest artist for the Collin student band. It's a junior college back then. So we're at a Saturday afternoon rehearsal, and the band, the school music director is in there, and he's conducting the rehearsal. And Erskine brings a bottle of water into the rehearsal space. Now, the rules were no water for no liquids in the rehearsal space. and this music director tells him he can't bring the water into the rehearsal space. And Erskine says, "You're kidding me." He says, "No, you got to bring it back out." He said, "Seriously, I can't have water?" Nope. And we were just it was such an awkward, we were all just, oh my God, I can't believe he's doing that.
Oh, dude.
Erskine is like, Erskine kept me after rehearsal for a little one-on-one thing.
Dude, the man I just love his whole vibe. And it doesn't surprise me that he actually didn't freak out. I mean, some guys would have just been like, but.
Well, so he got, all right, he got over the water thing, but probably would never, ever come back and work with that guy again, ever, I would think. And so after rehearsal, he kept me back because there were some things he wanted me to play with his foot or, whatever we were doing that day. And he spent some time teaching me how to play bass with him.
That's so beautiful.
So cool.
That's just, that to me is...
And then we buddied up a little bit. I took him to the airport the following day. I brought little Frank with me, and
Oh, Frank was in the car?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, we brought him, and Pete took a picture with Frank. I don't know, I don't know where it is at this point, but yeah, he was really nice and generous with his time with us. Was a good guy.
Before I let you go, I wanted to ask you about, kind of where you're at. Obviously, you have a roof over your head. You have a beautiful wife, incredible family. It's a lot of the major necessary life things are taken care of. Musically, is what is something? Just put it out there. Is there something, especially live music, that you crave at this point? Is there some kind of thing that in your mind?
Yeah, let me tell you what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I'm 77 years old, and at this point in my life, I'm not really actively looking for gigs, but I enjoy playing with other humans. So for all of you guys out there that are like me, that can play a little and want to find, I joined a local organization here called BYO, which is a bunch of guys, older guys with day jobs, and we get together once a month and jam. Now, that's evolved into, there's about 130 members, and that's evolved into a process where we collectively get together and produce a set to play every month. So this month, with some guys that I've never worked with before, but we're doing a set by a band called the Jayhawks. So I took a nap, during 1990 and 2000, so I'm learning some Jayhawks music.
Oh, that's great.
Part of this organization, there are some guys that go out and play solo. They strum a guitar and they sing Eagles songs or whatever. Well, some guy called me up and said, "Frank, can you do a set with us?" This is a whole gig now at some bar in a couple of weeks, so I'm doing that.
So you're getting
his bass player, and I got this one other thing in the spirit of giving back and being a senior volunteer. the Greater Dallas Youth Orchestra or Jazz Orchestra, which is a collective of high school students that play jazz, big band jazz. They don't have a student bass player anywhere in town that could pass the audition. The director called me up and said, Frank, can you help us out until we find a kid? And I said, sure.
I think that is.
And so
great.
I'm doing that. Matter of fact, and we rehearse every Sunday. And here's a chart from that band. This chart's called Windows. It's actually a Chick Corea thing.
Yeah.
So, and it's early on in this process with the kids, but the first rehearsal, I enjoyed it. I talked to them all, and
I couldn't think of a better way to give back to younger generations.
yeah. Well, I in a jazz idiom, I think we're losing this generation, and we got to work. We all collectively, us older guys, got to see what we can do to save it and create interest. You know,
Is it about creating interest? Is it about or is it about rekindling the spirit of actually putting something in your hands to play? I mean, I think that the idea that they can't find one youth back in your day,
jazz.
I mean, back in your day, there'd be dozens.
Yeah.
And so it's just a matter of like, there's an enthusiasm, but then it's also not just creating beats synthetically, but actually putting the apparatus in your physical hands.
Yeah. Most of the kids in the music thing, if I could just generalize, so they come up in middle school and they're playing, they're getting ready for the marching band, and so their thing is, they're all marching around. There's not really guitar players or bass players in a marching band there, but however in the orchestra they have some upright players, but once they graduate from high school, kind of the instrument gets put away, or unless they get a scholarship to be marching band in college. So where that disconnect is, I'm not sure. I'm not other than to just encourage them. My job with these kids, I'm gonna try and encourage them to let's have some fun.
I also think you should talk to them about the realities of being able to play music and maybe also augmenting your livelihood doing something else.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people in this time, there's such a pressure. Once you get into a certain space, you can't even pick it up anymore. You have to go full throttle into whatever field you're in. But I just think the gift of being...
This is a great hobby.
Absolutely.
There's so much enjoyment. And it's good for your left brain, right brain.
Dude, it's good for your health.
Yeah. And I hope I can just play until my visit on a planet is over, and so
Frank LoCrasto, Senior, so good to meet you in person, man. Thanks for being part of the show, man.
Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to visit, and let's do it again sometime.
Absolutely. Keep swinging, baby.
Yeah, babe.
It's the Jake Feinberg Show. We'll see you later.